So hello, good people of the internet. This is Tommy Kelly and this is the Tommy Kelly podcast. And today I'm going to talk to you all about the Four Devils. So yeah, let's get into that really quick. So the Four Devils arrived on the scene last week, Tuesday, Wednesday, maybe, can't remember. And basically, for a long while, I've had the idea of having servitors or familiars or servants or energies, archetypes or ideas that would correspond to the things of the classic health, wealth, wisdom and happiness. And I also had in my head the idea of them being not like a team, but like a collection of, an independent, separate thing rather than part of a bigger thing like the 40 servants or something similar. And when I started doing the 40 shadows, I had the idea to call them the 40 devils. And ultimately that doesn't really work with what the 40 shadows are because it's more of a meditative thing. And while you could say it's, shadows are devils and they're things to stop, I thought it'd bring too much kind of baggage with it. So it's not the best name for that, but I still liked it. It's coming back to the thing I said before about the 40 servants and one of the reasons why I picked that name was because I really like the kind of hoodoo stuff of like the four thieves or that kind of thing. So the Four Devils seemed really cool and I really liked it. So the idea was that I was going to do one of them and put it up and just see, maybe do another one in a while and just, again, this thing of me of just doing it for myself, not really expecting any kind of response. Thinking that one or two people would be interested and then, that would be the end of it. Now, I've spoken before about rifting when I talk on the podcast, but I have a good excuse today because I'm drinking Coke Zero. That probably won't focus if you're watching this. Because I have just done the Q&A for the Patreons and I just needed a bit of a caffeine buzz. So if I rift in this one, it's not that weird thing I do. It's because of carbonated water. So I did the first one, and the first one I completed, and these are how I pronounce the names. So was Jerdel, and that was the money one for wealth, and it just kind of came out, and it was that I kind of had an idea what she would look like, and posted it, put it on the website and all that kind of thing, and then there was like an immediate big response. So it kind of went, all right. So I took it down off the website because I'll do it as a full post when all four of them are done. Because when I did 47.4, I did it in different posts. And people, Google was picking up on these posts and sending people the wrong direction. So ultimately, it's better to keep it all in one place. And that's why I go, right, I'll learn my lesson from that before and keep it all in one place. So then I said, well, sure, may as well do two of them, and I did. And then over the course of the day, it just went crazy. And so much to the point that I put up a kind of tongue-in-cheek post later in the night that I have won the internet. Well, I've won Facebook because it just went, I don't know. I was going to say crazy again, but it just went insane. Like so much attention and so much feedback and so much interest in them all that it was phenomenal. And it was a bit taken aback because it's always those things that you think that you put the most effort into and to do really think about and really think, oh, people will love this or that people don't care about. And it's the stuff that you kind of do unbeknownst to yourself. Like when I was doing the comics, when I was doing Holy Numbers and I was doing them, I kind of as much as possible tried to get out of the way of the creation of it, like trying to just let it come out. It sounds really hokey, but it's how I work when I'm drawing, whatever. Just let it do what it wants to do. Coming from that whole thing of like the sculptor, the rock, when they get the rock, the statue's already in there, they just have to remove the bits that aren't the statue. So seeing myself as a conduit. Now, I'm not saying that these things are in any way channeled or, divinely inspired. It's just my way of getting myself out of the way and just letting whatever is the thing that wants to be to come true. Now, I do think there is some sort of tangible thing to ideas. And when I talk about things being an idea, it's definitely not in a kind of derogatory or making it lesser than, a real thing and an idea. I think an idea is actually more real than a real thing. So, I mean, like, the idea of a book is far more powerful than the actual book. So, when I say ideas, I mean them in the best possible way. So I do think that these ideas have kind of seems to be some sort of sentience to them at times, or at least it appears that way, or it's think of them that way is helpful and it works. And if you want, there's a great TED talk that Elizabeth Gilbert does. You one who did Eat, Pray, Love. And she talks about this kind of day of being around and allowing ideas. And she has a thing about Tom Waits and the poet, who I can't remember right now, about grabbing these ideas. And sometimes they're just out of grasp. And then when she gets them, it comes in backwards. And all this kind of stuff that only happens if ideas are sentient or have some sort of tangibility. Alan Moore's theory of that there's an idea space, and most people just grab the ideas that are close to them, around them, and they're the ones that people, it's like when you first get into something, you do the same things that everyone else does because they're the ideas that are closest to you. But the more important ones, the better ones, are out there behind us, and they're the ones you should go for. And it's the thing that if you, like, everyone has had the experience of having an idea and not doing anything on it, and then a year later someone else has taken that idea and done it. And it's almost as if ideas jump from people. Go, will you manifest me? No. Will you manifest me? And until they find someone who actually gets them out. And it's like, it's the idea wants to be born. And so whether or not ideas are sentient or have a tangibility or some sort of selfhood in an animistic sense, that's the way they behave to me, or seem to behave, and I find it very workable. So when I say for me to get out of the way of the idea, that's what I'm doing, allowing that to come true. Now, whether that comes from idea space or somewhere in the back of my head or wherever is irrelevant to the process. It's the whys. In this case, I'm not that concerned about. So if you're watching this in a video rather than just the podcast, this is going to be hard to focus, maybe not. Jardel, and this is the Servitor for Wealth. And then next I did Harvin. Not sure again if that's focusing. My previous screen is very small, so and he's for health. Again, that's how I pronounce it, Harvin. The next one I did was Cranvock, which is for happiness. And then the final one is Varmon for wisdom. Now, people are pointing out that they're not really representative of the thing that they are meant to represent, in that Cranvock doesn't look particularly happy. Or, the Harvin, being that it's skulls and debt or whatever, is not particularly good for health. And I said at the time, well, these things will turn out to be more cleverer than they may seem at first. And someone then pointed out to me that if you see it as someone who, like say Cranvock, and goes, doesn't look happy, but he's a servitor that will bring you happiness, because he is the person who takes away the sadness. So he's going to look sad. So he's pulling away the bad shit so that your good shit can grow and feel better, and and you can radiate with happiness. So it's like, it's just an interesting point that a servitor who can bring you happiness might not necessarily be happy themselves, because that would be their function. They feed on sadness and they feed on depression and all that kind of stuff. So someone like Harvin, like a health servitor, you think to be very vibrant and full of energy, whatever, but not, because they take away the debt, they take away the disease, they take away the hurt, they take away all the bad stuff. And so that would be that's an interesting thing, because it also works with like the devil, how you kind of look to Jardel for, for wealth, like that there is a kind of a devilish element, the mammon element of money, and that kind of thing. So there is a thing. The plague doctor for wisdom could be that doctors are learned and there's a high intellectual thing to it. I don't know. That will present itself what that is, but it could be that I really like the idea that it's the opposite of what you think, and that was not consciously intentional, but works really really well, particularly in Cranvock and Harvin. But I'd say the other ones will that will present itself in time, as the 40 servants did in many ways. So how to use them? Well, this is the thing. It depends on what kind of relationship you want to have with these. If you see them as actual entities, then work with them as actual entities. That's the point of chaos magic. You work within what the sphere of what you're doing. So if you want to work with them as entities, believe that they are entities and not kind of kid yourself with entities. They are entities. Go with it. That's what they are. That's what they do. So you would treat them in the same way you would treat a demon from the Goetia, or one of the names of Marduk from the Necronomicon, or whatever way you work with these things. So you would, treat them and talk to them and deal with them in that manner. If you want to deal with them as purely as just energies, you could invoke them into you, so that like say invoking Cranvock into you to remove all the negativity and sadness from you, to push all that out, and then see him then leaving with all that from with a trail, like as a visualization healing exercise. That can be massively powerful. That's that kind of, I like kind of the visualization, active imagination type stuff. And I like the idea of invoking stuff because it takes away from the intercessory thing of asking someone to do something for you. You're taking it in and taking on that energy and doing it yourself in a certain way. You're putting on the clothes of this being so that you can do these things yourself, so you can clear out yourself, so you can point to where your depression lies. Like if you feel, often when I'm sad, I can feel it right here in, my heart. So you could visualize that changing and moving and pushing out and replacing it with something, and then that whole thing leaving with Cranvock as he leaves. So you don't have to believe in them as being as an identity. They seem to have all these servers seem to have some sort of tangible thing going on, or some sort of personhood, but that could just be an idea, and I'm okay with that. That's fine if it makes it workable. So that's good. And then ultimately you can just think of them as ideas and whatever, and work to them just as it's like charms or a talisman or kind of thing like that. I would suggest just talking to them first of all, and saying what you want, saying things out loud. Even from a non-magic point of view, saying things out loud and articulating, exactly what your problem is can be massively helpful. Which is why I feel when you talk to someone else about your problems, a lot of the time, why that can be so helpful is because you are literally getting that out of you, where it's in your head. You can have these thoughts in your head and these ideas, but as soon as you put them into words, you can sometimes see how ridiculous they are, that you can't when they're in your head. So I always suggest when people are working with any sort of things is to say it out loud, talk to it as if you're talking to a person or whatever. And that can reframe things, and that can get you to see things from a different point of view. From the magic point of view, even from then, it starts from when you start talking, when you start getting it out. Because that's the movement. You've changed something. Something has changed. You've projected. Something has come out. Offerings then. All my offerings are candles and intention, and so give them a candle when you ask. Give them a candle when you get it. And then if you feel the need, give them a public thanks. But they're set as servitors need to be fed. These are set as all my stuff is set to feed on attention and use. So by using them, you are feeding them. By giving them attention, you are feeding them. So they're not. People often worry about, what are they going to? They're going to take something from me. They're not going to take anyone's energy. They're not going to do anything bad. They feed on attention. That's what sustains them. So the more they're used, the more they live. Like an idea, like any sort of idea, in that the more it's used, the more it's passed around, the more attention it gets, the more alive it is. That's how it works in my mind, or how it works best, or whatever. And so that the more of an idea, like if 4 people use a servitor, that, that's kind of a small sphere of influence, whatever. If 4 million people use it and it becomes, common parlance or common, usage in day to day, like if your mum starts knowing about it or whatever, then it's a much more powerful idea or servitor in that way. But it doesn't affect what someone else does with that idea. It doesn't really affect what you do with that idea, other than it all adds to the overall thing. So if that makes sense, I've talked before about what people using it will add more power to the servitor, but won't necessarily affect what you're doing. To a point, I suppose. Like if someone, it's like the swastika thing, like someone can do something so terrible that it destroys the idea for everyone. But I don't think servitors in this sort of level thing is ever going to get to the Nazi German kind of level of destruction. So no one is really, what other people do isn't going to affect what you do with them. So yeah, offerings, be very specific about what you want. Like saying I want more money is not really that helpful, because 20 cent on the ground is more money. You got what you asked for, but not what you wanted, which is the big thing in magic. You will mostly get what you ask for, but not necessarily what you want. So give it a time limit, like as well, possibly. Like people go, oh, how do I know when it's worked? Have you say I need this within the week? Otherwise, if you say I need $50, you could get that in 10 years. Like just say I need it within time, so you know whether it worked or not. And if it didn't work, then change what you're doing. So yeah, be specific. Talk to them like you would talk to anyone. Offerings, feeding attention, and I've given you how I pronounce them. You can pronounce them as you see fit. I think that's kind of it. There is a post, which I'll link in the show notes for this, that you can get the printable downloads. So you can print these out and use them yourself. There's the sigils there, the name, the whole thing. And frequently asked questions. Got loads of questions on the first day or two. So you can find out what my general answers are to them. And a bit more behind the thing. So there's shareable kind of JPEG ones, and then there's printable PNGs, I want to say. And all the information you could need there. So that'll be in the show notes. So that's the 4 devils. That's what I got up to last week. And yeah, that's been a remarkable kind of event, I suppose. And yeah, really good. Glad it happened. Surprised it happened, but that's the way it is. That's how it goes. So, yeah. And that is the Tommy Kelly podcast once more, and that's it for another week. If you want to check out more of what I do, you can go to the podcast itself at adventuresinwoohoo.com, and there's a whole section just there in the podcast, and you can listen to all the other episodes. I think there's about 25 or so at this point. If you want to know more about the 40 Servants, you can go to 40servants.com or, the40servants.com. And all the information you could possibly need is there, including a link to a blog post which explains how to use the 40 Servants without buying anything or spending any money whatsoever. So it's all there, so you don't have to buy into any sort of thing to be able to use any of this stuff. The link for the 4 devils will be in the show notes below this or above this, depending on what part of the internet you're on. And you can get me on Twitter, which is at Tommy Kelly, which is TOMMIE. I'm on Facebook, Adventures in Woo-Woo. If you search that, you'll find a page. There's the 40 Servants group. Instagram, Pinterest, Tumblr, all the places. I'm there. And if you could share this, like this, and tell other people about it if you think they're interested. Don't spam people. Don't send it to people who you don't want any of this stuff. There's nothing worse than that. But if you think people would be interested in it, but a like really does help, a share really does help, and all those things, I would much, much appreciate it. And if you want to even go a step further and help me even more, you can check out my Patreon, which is tommykelly.com, TOMMIE, and there's 4 tier rewards, and you get different, rewards for each level of things. Starts at like $1 to $25, and check it out. And until next week. Good people of the internet, have a wonderful, wonderful week, and be good and be well and be happy and be safe.